everybody, and welcome. Today I am interviewing somebody very special. His name is Mark, and he is a spiritual medium. Hi, welcome, Mark.
Hello. You're making my wife jealous, by the way.
Oh, why?
Calling me special.
Ah, well, there you go. But I'm sure she knows that you're very special. So that's cool. That's cool. Anyway, so what we're talking about today is Mark is actually going to be one of our star spiritual mediums. Well, he's the only spiritual medium in our Spiritual Love Summit. So it's going to be really, really exciting because we're actually going to be live with him in a Zoom room. So, Mark, how's this going to arrive?
You mean in terms of how's Zoom going to work and how am I going to give messages? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the first place to start is I am a spiritual medium. I'm not a psychic medium. Now, people get very confused over what that means. So let me begin by saying that every spiritual medium is also a psychic medium, but very few psychic mediums are spiritual mediums. Now, the difference is spiritual means I communicate with your loved ones who have passed into the spiritual realm. So if I'm not open just now and I'm not giving you a message, but if I was giving you a message, it would go through 3 stages. I would ask your permission to work with you. Yes. I would then give you evidence of the spirit that was coming forward. Now, that is very personal evidence, and it can be anything. It can be how the person died. It can be their characteristic, a physical description. It can be very specific, like their name, their hat size, something that you can recognize as coming from that person. Now, how much evidence you get, obviously, it depends on how long the reading is going to be. If I was giving you, let's say, a 1-hour private reading, I would expect the evidence section to take up at least 15 to 20 minutes. Once we've done that, then you get a message from your loved one. And again, this is where it gets very confused because people looking for a psychic reading, they want spirit to tell them how to do X, Y, Z. And I always emphasize this is a message from your loved one. So you have to take that on board with whatever they're saying to you. The message itself can be evidential. I mean, for example, I gave a reading in a service about 4 weeks ago to a woman that was just about to go and work in what's the best way to put this? A home for horses. People that had basically abused and abandoned horses. She was from California, and she was going to have to relocate some considerable distance, and she hadn't even told her daughter about this. So it was her great aunt that came forward, and her great aunt had worked with horses. So there was an obvious direct link there as to why the great aunt was coming forward to speak to the woman and tell her how happy she was that she was effectively doing the same level of work. So we had a very detailed message that came forward from the loved aunt, and she was telling her how to handle horses. Now, I know nothing about horses, so I'm sitting there saying, well, your aunt says this, your aunt says that. And the woman's going, oh, that's perfect. Yes, obviously this all made sense to her with regard to horses. And then at the end of it, she actually sent me a message basically just saying that was amazing because nobody, not even my daughter, she hadn't even told the daughter that they were relocating. I mean, the daughter was a teenager and she hadn't even told the daughter yet that they were relocating. And here she was getting advice from her great aunt and a spiritual message. So that's an example of what a message would be like.
That is fantastic. I am so looking forward to seeing you at the Spiritual Love Summit. Absolutely. So if everybody wants to click on the link that I shall put up afterwards, because I've forgotten it. And, that's really useful, isn't it, Nikki? But
no comment.
Yeah, it's called efficiency. Anyway, it shall be put up straight after this video ends. And so we're really looking forward to Mark. He's actually going to be doing it in a Zoom room, so he'll be able to see you all and be able to feel you all, and that's going to be really important. So that's going to be a real sort of there's only very few people who are coming to the summit. We're keeping it like that because it's going to be more personal. It's all about giving people personal experiences. So we're really looking forward to that. Now, another thing that we are doing with Mark is that Mark is going to teach some of us how to be mediums, which I am very, very excited about. So what he's going to do is that every Sunday, and it's going to be 4 o'clock, is that right? On Sunday?
Yeah, 4 o'clock UK time.
UK time. Okay, so he's actually going to be teaching us how to be medium. So we yeah, I'll pass you on to Mark. What am I talking about it for? Okay.
Okay. Now, this is where we get. I'm going to say bogged down in definitions, but you have to be very clear what we're talking about here. There are many, many different types of mediumship. Psychic versus spiritual being the first obvious one, but I will be teaching very specifically spiritual mediumship. Now, anybody can this is where, if you go into Facebook and if you go into any of the Facebook groups, this is where people get very, very confused. You'll see a post from somebody that says, I've had my spiritual awakening and I'm receiving messages, to which I'll say, fine, but that doesn't make you a medium. Mediumship basically involves 3 different, let's call them skills. They're more than skills, but let's just call them skills for the moment. Number 1, being able to receive and recognize what you're receiving. Now, let me throw some terminology at you. Woman's intuition, gut reaction, gut feeling. Those are actually ways of receiving messages from spirit. There was a study that was done, which I posted an article in one of the groups that I run, by a doctor at Durham University. And he was actually studying how mediums receive messages. And it was quite clear from the article that he was running that he really didn't know what he was talking about, because he was talking about being able to hear, as though that's how all mediums hear spirit. Well, very, very few mediums can actually hear messages. You're just aware. Some of it's like clairvoyance. You're just aware of things. Some of it is imagery that you see in your head. Some of it's emotional. I was teaching a woman last year. All she could pick up were emotions. But once I started working with her to teach her how to recognize it and how to process it, she could give extremely detailed messages to people. And sometimes it's images, memories from your own history. Sometimes you get people that sit in the circle and they say, but I'm not getting anything, to which my reaction is, well, nothing is something. That must mean something, and you need to put it into context and give it as part of the message. So that's step 1. Step 2 is then being able to analyze and interpret what you're receiving. And again, this is everybody does this differently, but your spiritual guides will work with you in specific ways to give you information that you have to be able to recognize, as I said in the first step, and then process that information to effectively translate it. So you in effect, you're speaking 2 languages. You're speaking the spiritual language to the spirit, and then you're translating it into English to put it into the context that the loved one can take the information and understand it. And then third, and this is actually the most important one, and it's the one that most people actually forget about. You've got to learn the rules of mediumship, because there are rules. And if you don't follow these rules, spirit will pull the rug right from under you. For example, we do not predict the future. We do not diagnose you as having an illness. For example, if I was giving you a spiritual reading, I might pick up that you had a sore throat. Now, that's a symptom. That's not a diagnosis. And I wouldn't say to you, you've got a sore throat, you've got something wrong with your throat. What I would say to you is, have you been suffering from a sore throat recently? And if you said yes, then spirit might give me more information. But if then spirit said, oh, you've got a cancerous growth in your throat, there's no way I would say that to you, because I'm not qualified to say you're suffering from cancer. All I've got from spirit is the impression that you need a serious examination and you've got a sore throat. So what I would say to you is, have you had the sore throat examined? No. Okay, so I'm not diagnosing. I'm not qualified to diagnose you. However, your beloved uncle wants you to go and see a doctor to have a look at your throat, just in case. Now, that's an extreme example of the rules that we follow. But there are a lot of ways that you've got to word things, you've got to put things very carefully so that people don't panic, they don't overreact. Because you may very well be telling them that they have got cancer in their throat, but you can't say that to them. But you've got to gently prompt them to go and have a medical examination without leaving yourself open to the being sued when they run to the doctor and said, but the medium Mark said I had cancer. You've got to give me a £10,000 medical examination and then go back and sue the medium. I actually know of an American medium that did that last year, and she's now facing basically a court case for damages of $30,000 for medical examination fees. Now that's an extreme example. But you've got to learn how to give messages very carefully.
Absolutely. Well, there's lots of things to learn. You think that everything's so easy sort of on the surface, but when you go down into things,
Correct.
there's lots of rules and knowings. So it'd be great to to be able to pick up on these and to learn about this. I'm actually going to do it myself with Mark and with this group. So this is going to be really exciting. And so if you are interested in doing this with Mark, we're going to be doing it every week on Sundays at 5 p.m.
No, 4 p.m.
Italian time. No, Italian
Oh, sorry.
time.
Sorry.
4 p.m. UK time. And we would love to have you on board. So that is going to be really cool. Okay, fabulous. So, Mark, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we leave?
Just a general comment about a question that people might have. What does love and spiritual mediumship have? Why am I coming to your summit? So I've been doing some thinking about it, and in order to be a medium, in order to deliver mediumship messages, spiritual messages, love is actually probably the single most important emotion that you have to understand and cope with. And when I say cope, let me give you an example of another message that I gave to an Indian gentleman in India. I do work internationally, by the way, so I'm used to odd time zones. But this man and his daughter were getting a message from his deceased partner, obviously the teenage girl's mother. And she was giving a message that I couldn't understand, and the two people that I was giving the message to couldn't understand. It was basically a watch I was interpreting it as a watch that she had been given for her birthday, or that she was giving to one. She wanted to give to one of them, and we just went round in circles for about 3 or 4 minutes, trying to make sense of this. And then finally, the daughter face went like that, and she could make complete sense of it. When the mother was alive, she had been terminally ill, and the daughter and the husband, her father, the daughter's father, obviously, had been talking about buying a watch for the mother, the wife. But because she was so ill and she was so near actually crossing over, they had decided not to buy the watch. What the mother wanted the husband to do was to buy the watch as though it had been bought for the wife and to give it to the daughter. And she wanted a message engraved in the watch to be given to the daughter. Now, that might seem like a very sort of mechanical message, but the emotion that was behind that, because the love that the two people had for the woman that was coming forward, and the love that that woman was expressing for both her husband and for her daughter. And it was also a way of her saying thank you to the daughter, because the daughter had basically, when the mother had passed away, and this had all come out during the reading. I mean, I'm summarizing this very, very quickly. The daughter had sort of basically stepped into the mother and effectively become the head of the household and looked after the father when he was emotionally not capable of looking after his teenage daughter. And the emotion that I felt from the mother was overpowering. And the two people were in I mean, when they had worked, I mean, a lot of this was them working out what was happening. I was just giving them the very basics, and they were taking the basics and putting it together and putting it into context. But you have to be able to understand love and cope with love, because when you're open to receiving the message, it's overwhelming. And you're bringing forward loved ones. And when I say you're bringing forward loved ones, it's constant. They're coming forward expressing love that you have to be able to express in a way that's appropriate and put it into the context for the people receiving the messages. So the subject of the conference that you're doing is very, very appropriate for working as a spiritual medium.
Fabulous. Thank you, Mark. That was really interesting. Absolutely. It gives us some sort of idea into the work that you do and the work that you could potentially teach us to do.
Correct.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we loved having you on here.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah. Have a wonderful day.
Likewise.
Okay. Take care, everybody. And thanks for commenting, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.